You're a Roman soldier stationed on the eastern frontier at dawn. Before you see anything, you hear it. At first it sounds like distant thunder rolling across the plains. The sky is clear. No storm. The sound grows louder, deeper, wrong. Then the ground begins to tremble beneath your feet. Your spear feels slick in your hands. This isn't thunder. It's hooves. Thousands of them. You've heard the stories. Your commanders say they're exaggerations meant to scare new recruits. Tales of warriors who drink blood, who eat raw meat warmed beneath saddles, who leave cities so destroyed that even their names vanish. You never truly believed them. Then you see the ridge ahead darken as riders crest the hill. Faces you'll never forget. Skulls deliberately reshaped into unnatural forms. Eyes flat, cold, ancient. And at the center rides a man who looks almost ordinary. Average height. Plain clothing. No jewels. No crown. You almost laugh, until he looks at you. You're about to meet Attila the Hun. And if fate is kind, you have 4 minutes left to live. In the year 452 AD, the Roman city of Aquileia stood as one of the richest and most heavily fortified cities in the empire. Its walls had never been breached. Its citizens believed themselves untouchable. Safe. They were wrong. Attila's army arrived and settled in for a siege that dragged on for 3 brutal months. Food dwindled. Morale collapsed. But what truly destroyed Aquileia wasn't the siege itself. It was what came after. When the walls finally fell, Attila gave an order that echoed through history. This city was not to be conquered. It was to be erased. Every building torn down stone by stone. Every citizen killed or enslaved. Every trace of Aquileia wiped from the earth. And he succeeded. For centuries afterward, travelers passed through the area without realizing a city had ever stood there. Survivors fled into the marshes and lagoons where horses could not follow. They drove wooden piles into mud and built homes above water rather than risk seeing him again. That settlement became Venice. One of the most beautiful cities on earth exists because people were so terrified of one man that they chose a swamp over safety. This is the story of how a human being became the embodiment of apocalypse. How a name became synonymous with destruction. How Attila earned the title that haunted the ancient world. The Scourge of God. And to understand his power, you must understand the world that created him. In 406 AD, the Roman Empire still looked impressive on maps. But maps lie. Behind marble facades and imperial proclamations, Rome was rotting. Borders collapsed. Germanic tribes poured across the Rhine. Corruption hollowed governance. The economy fractured. The empire still stood, but it bled from 1,000 invisible wounds. Far beyond Rome's eastern imagination, something stirred. The Huns. Romans didn't understand them, and that made them terrifying. These were not city builders or farmers. They were nomads born in the saddle. They lived, slept, negotiated, and fought on horseback. Roman writers described them as barely human. Hunnic children had their skulls bound from birth, forcing them into elongated, alien shapes. This wasn't fashion. It was terror. An army of warriors who looked inhuman before a single arrow flew. They ate raw meat softened beneath saddles. Their composite bows pierced armor at distances Roman soldiers had never faced. They didn't fight in orderly lines. They swarmed, retreated, encircled, vanished, returned. To Rome, they weren't enemies. They were chaos made flesh. Into this world, Attila was born around 406 AD. His rise to power began with betrayal. When the previous Hunnic ruler died in 434 AD, power was shared between Attila and his brother Bleda. Together they devastated the Eastern Roman Empire, extracting rivers of gold and tribute. But Attila wanted more than power. He wanted singular power. Around 445 AD, Bleda died under mysterious circumstances. No illness. No wounds. Just gone. History is silent, But silence speaks loudly. Attila ruled alone. He unified the Hunnic tribes under his rule and transformed them into something far more dangerous than a horde. A weapon. When the Roman diplomat Priscus visited Attila's court in 448 AD, he witnessed something chilling. Kings and ambassadors ate from silver and gold. They drank from jeweled cups. Attila sat apart, eating plain meat from a wooden plate, drinking from a wooden cup. He never smiled. This wasn't humility. It was dominance. He needed nothing. Everyone else needed him. Those who met him said his appearance was unremarkable. But his eyes, everyone remembered the eyes. Priscus wrote that Attila could dominate a room without speaking, as if he could see every secret and weakness in a man's soul. Attila understood fear better than anyone alive. His first great campaign targeted the Eastern Roman Empire. When Rome missed a tribute payment in 441 AD, Attila didn't negotiate. He annihilated. Cities like Nisus were erased. Wells poisoned. Rivers clogged with bones. Years later, travelers reported the stench of death still hung in the air. Over 70 cities vanished. Rome begged for peace. The treaties that followed were humiliating beyond belief. Triple tribute. Demilitarized zones. Romans treated as inferiors to nomads. Christians reached a terrifying conclusion. This wasn't war. This was divine punishment. They named him the Scourge of God. And Attila embraced it. By 450 AD, the Eastern Empire was broken. Attila turned west, using a desperate Roman princess's plea for help as his excuse. He claimed her as his bride and demanded half the Western Empire as her dowry. Then he invaded Gaul. Cities burned. Metz fell. Reims fell. The earth shook beneath hooves again. At the Catalonian plains in 451 AD, Rome and the Visigoths finally stopped him. The battle was a slaughter. Tens of thousands died. Attila retreated, for the first time. But wounded pride is more dangerous than victory. In 452 AD, he invaded Italy. Aquileia vanished. Padua fell. Verona fell. Milan fell. Rome panicked. No army stood between Attila and the Eternal City. So Rome sent a priest. Pope Leo I met Attila near the Mincio River. What was said is unknown. Legend claims saints appeared in the sky. History suggests disease, hunger, and threats to Attila's homeland forced his hand. Attila turned back. Rome survived. A year later, Attila married again. He drank heavily at the feast. The next morning, he was dead, choked on his own blood from a massive hemorrhage. The man who terrified the world died quietly. His warriors mourned by cutting their own faces. He was buried in secret, in coffins of gold, silver, and iron. His grave was hidden forever. With his death, the Hunnic Empire collapsed within a year. But Attila's legacy didn't die. He weaponized fear. He proved reputation could destroy empires faster than armies. He showed how fragile civilization truly is. Rome fell 23 years later. Attila never built monuments. He left no cities behind. He left terror. And 15 centuries later, his name still means the end of the world.